He has said it's going to be a good day. Let's go in and see if we can get him to answer a question or two. How are you feeling this morning?
We feel great. I mean, the turnout's been fantastic. I think we're going to have a great day. We had a phenomenal poll come out last night. Actually, a pollster that called South Carolina. You know, I wasn't supposed to win South Carolina. We won in really a landslide, Chris, and we feel really good about this.
I want to give you a chance to answer these reports that there's a lot of infighting in your campaign, that it's in a state of somewhat of disarray.
I haven't heard those reports. I mean, we get it. We have a great campaign. I'm #1 by a lot. Millions more votes than Cruz or anybody else. I have millions of more votes, as you know. I have almost 300 more delegates. I have not heard anything about infighting. I don't know where you hear it.
Do you feel, well, it's being reported, and there are people within your campaign who are suggesting.
I'm the only. I doubt that.
You feel confident that your campaign is all working together? None of the people who have been brought in.
Let me ask you, are we #1?
You are #1, but will you win today?
We have millions more votes than anybody else. Will we win today? I can't tell you, but we're going to have a great turnout, and I think we're going to do very well.
As you know, it's not uncommon when things seem to not be going as well as they might have been, and I know you disagree with some of the assessments, but people have said not your greatest week last week, for sure.
But I've had worse weeks on the campaign. I mean, I've had so many weeks that I think a couple of them that were worse, and I know in one case I went up in the polls, so, you know, couldn't have been so disastrous, but we actually have a very, very good campaign going. I'm #1 by a lot. And, you know, the thing that nobody talks about are the votes. I'm millions of votes more than anybody else. You know, we talk about delegates, which I'm by far and away #1, but the votes are even more impressive because I have, if you take a look, is it close to 3 million votes more than the second place person. So we're doing really well. I had not heard anything about the inner fightings of a campaign. But, you know, we have a very successful campaign going, and I think we're going to keep it going.
And let me just ask you about going on from here. How important is Wisconsin? And if Ted Cruz is able to win here, does it substantially make it harder for you to go into Cleveland and assure a win?
Well, Ted Cruz can't win. There's no way he can get the delegates. And everybody has said that. All of your friends and everybody that I've watched has said that it's impossible, almost impossible, for Ted Cruz to win. So he would have to get it at the convention, which I think would be highly unlikely. So he can't win. We can win fairly easily. If we won Wisconsin, that would be a big help.
And what has it meant in Wisconsin, do you think, that you've had the radio talk show host, you've had the governor, you've had so many people who are in the quote-unquote establishment who have actively said that they think that you're dangerous for their party and that they want to work to make sure that you don't win?
Well, the governor has to say that because, as you know, I took him out. He was running for president, and I was the one that took him out, and I took him out rapidly, and I didn't ever even ask for his endorsement or his support. But I have the support of many people, Chris Christie, Ben Carson, people that ran and really ran much more successfully than he did. I have the support of many, many people. We just got the support of the 16,500 Border Patrol agents, which really is responsible for the border or the southern border. And I mean, we have tremendous support from so many different levels. Senator Jeff Sessions, who Cruz was trying to get on his camp because he's one of the most respected senators. He endorsed Donald Trump. So we have tremendous support, but I can understand why Governor Walker wouldn't want to support me because I was the one that took him out of the presidential race, and it was done pretty. It was pretty tough. I mean, it was a pretty tough situation. He was expected to win, and he ended up leaving one of the earliest to leave. So I understand that. That's why I never even bothered to ask for support.
One of the toughest mountains for you seems to be with women now. In some areas, you have 77% negatives with women. Can you turn that around, and what do you think is behind it? Besides, obviously, there are people who are very concerned about your questions on abortion, very concerned about the fact that you continue to support Corey Lewandowski.
A lot. Well, if you look at the tape, what did Corey Lewandowski do? So am I supposed to be loyal to a person or because somebody filed something? Because if you look at the complaint, I mean, people have, we don't have to get into it now, but people have looked at that tape and they're trying to say, what did he do wrong? So I have to be loyal to people just like I'll be loyal to the people of this country. But when you analyze it, it's called give me a break. As far as women are concerned, nobody respects women more than I do. Not even close. Nobody respects women more than I do. And I get a
So why aren't they getting that message?
I'll tell you why, because I get a very unfair press. I get a very, very unfair press having to do with women and many other things. I mean, I am. That's right. Phyllis does.
I told that to Charlie Sykes last week.
Yeah. And Charlie Sykes, I mean, this guy's third rate. He's a third-rate talent, and he frankly, and the governor, you know the story with the governor, but the women, I think that I'm going to do very well with women. We just had a big meeting, many women at the meeting, and they like me best because they say you're best with the military, you're best with the borders, you're best for security. And I said, I'm going to be best for women's health issues, much better than Hillary, much better than anybody else. So I think we're going to do fantastically well with women.
If you don't win here, Mr. Trump, will it be because you misread or your campaign misread the Wisconsin electorate? Do you think that perhaps you might have come in here knowing that you beat him and not been so tough on the governor, not been so tough on a radio talk show host who, frankly, is very popular here and very well respected?
The state is not doing particularly well. It's average compared to other states surrounding. The governor has a good press. The governor's a nice man. I mean, he gave me a plaque because I supported him a year ago. You know, a year ago I was like establishment, right? I supported him. I gave him a lot of money because I liked him because he was a fighter. But the truth is his results are not very good. They're very average, even less than average in many cases. They're losing jobs. They're going to other countries. And I let people know. And I let people know, too, when I was running against him as president. And I talked about what's going wrong. And it was something I didn't want to do. But he had to leave the race because when I brought out the facts, he was unable to answer what I said. That being said, I've done great in Wisconsin. I mean, the people have, you've seen, I've had rallies that have been fantastic. Yesterday we had over 8,000 people trying to get into an airplane hangar, and it was in the middle, it was in an area that everyone said you couldn't get anybody, and we had thousands and thousands of people from all over Wisconsin coming. I think we're going to do well. A poll came out last night, and it was interesting because it was the same pollster that polled South Carolina that I ended up winning in a landslide. This was the poll that was most accurate in South Carolina, and I believe also in New Hampshire, which I also won. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it's going to be a great day in Wisconsin, and I think we're going to do very well. I don't know, but I just, based on the enthusiasm, how do you think we're going to do in Wisconsin? I mean, I think we're going to do really well. I hope so.
And finally, no changes anticipated in your campaign staff. You have full confidence in everyone within it, and you see no signs of any kind of unrest or infighting within your campaign.
No, it's just the media again. I get the most unfair media. Nobody ever even called me. This is the first time I've been asked this question. Nobody's ever called me about this. We're number one in every category, number one in delegates, number one in votes by millions. I don't mean by like 2 votes, by millions and millions of votes. And I'm very happy.
And you don't feel ill-served, for example, to go on to a very popular talk radio show and you said you didn't know that they had been leading an anti-Trump
Because if you listen to that, I don't mind that. I mean, you go into the enemy camp sometimes, but you have to take on the enemy. He's not a very smart guy, not a very bright guy. And if you listen to the entire show, you would have said Donald Trump totally won that debate. I was on the show for 15 minutes, and everybody that listened to that show said, you convinced me. I've had many people call me that were going to vote against me. They listened to that show. By the end of the show, and they wrote me I have 2 or 3 letters, they wrote and they tweeted and all of this, and they said that by the end of that show, you have totally convinced me I'm voting for Trump. So, I mean, sometimes you go into unfriendly territory. That's part of the game.
And that's what you consider Wisconsin to be?
No, you said about a radio.
You're just talking about the radio
host. See, that's what I mean about the dishonest media.
I'm asking you a question, allowing you to answer it.
Excuse me. You're asking me about a show host, and I said it was that he was unfriendly territory. Then you say, is that what Wisconsin?
Well, you also talked about
no,
the
that's
governor.
So dishonest. It's so dishonest. No. Look,
so
that's called.
You
know what that's called? Dishonest media. That's called dishonest reporting.
Well, let me ask you finally. Going into New York and Pennsylvania, what's the strategy?
Excuse me. I think I'm going to do great in Wisconsin. The polls are showing me doing really, really well in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. I mean, it looks like we're going to have tremendous victories there. And but right now, I'm interested right here. We'll see how we do tonight, and I think the results will surprise you.
Donald Trump, thank you so much for your time, sir. And so.